Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to New Chapter, where we turn powerful books into powerful insights. Today, we're diving into Chapter 6 of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, a chapter titled, Tails. You win. What if I told you that almost all success in investing and in life comes from just a few big events? A few outliers, a few lucky breaks, a few tails. Let's explore how embracing this truth can transform how you see luck, failure, and your path to wealth. Now let's get started. All right, here's the deal. The biggest financial rewards come from a few big hits. In finance, they call this a tail event, something rare and unpredictable that totally rocks your world. Picture this. You've got 10 different stocks in your portfolio. On average, they might do okay, but one of them could skyrocket and make you a ton of money. And guess what? This pattern isn't just for stocks. It's for careers, relationships, and almost everything in life. You see, success is usually a bunch of little things that add up to something big. Except, almost all the payoff comes from a small number of major events. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You probably won't know ahead of time which moment is going to be that moment. That's why success often looks like a string of regular stuff. Then suddenly, bam, things change completely. Think back to Warren Buffett, the famous investor. He made more than 90% of his wealth after he turned 65. Why? Well, Morgan credits two big events. He started investing early, and he stuck with it for a long time. Now, Warren doesn't have thousands of investments, but he has a lot. And yes, he's really good at picking winners. But here's the thing. Just 10 of his investments have brought in more than 90% of his gains. That's the tail effect. This means you don't need to be right about a lot of things. You just need to be right about some important ones. And the rest? It's all gravy. Now, if you've been playing the game for a while, you might have some successes under your belt already. Maybe you've picked a good stock or two. But the truth is, these wins don't mean much if you don't play the game long enough to see the tails. And remember, tails don't happen on a timetable. Some moments just look like any other moment, but they end up being way more important than you thought. That's why the true magic happens for those who stick around. Okay, let me ask you something. How many of you are doing what you're doing because you want to get rich quick? Raise your hand if that's you. Okay, now keep your hand raised if you've actually achieved that. See my point exactly. Most people aren't willing to put in the time and effort required to succeed because their expectation is that it should be fast and easy. But here's the hard truth. Building wealth takes a while. And no, it's not built overnight. And it's definitely not effortless. When we dream about getting rich, we usually imagine ourselves hitting a home run. But here's the secret. You don't need to hit home runs. You need to get on base. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But let me explain. Getting on base means doing things consistently. Show up, put in the effort, learn, adapt, and repeat. Home runs, on the other hand, are the unexpected wins, the lucky breaks, the moments that change everything. You can't plan for them, but you can prepare for them. By getting on base consistently, you put yourself in a position to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. You never know when a home run is coming, but when it does, you'll be ready. We tend to fixate on grand slam home runs, thinking they're the norm rather than the exception. But here's the reality. Grand slams, those life-changing moments, are rare. They're not something you should rely on. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people give up before they see the grand slam because they're not willing to wait. But those who stay in the game long enough to experience the grand slams realize that they wouldn't have had that patience if they hadn't experienced them themselves. You need to get on base first. Learn to find pleasure in the daily grind. Embrace the process of showing up and putting in the effort. Get comfortable with consistent progress. That's the key to preparing for the home runs. It's all about finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. We're all told to follow our dreams and passions. But what happens when those dreams don't pan out? Or what if you haven't discovered your passion yet? Should you just sit around waiting for inspiration to strike? Heck no. Instead, embrace the messiness of life. Dive into new things. Experiment and be okay with not knowing what you're doing. Trust me, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning to love the journey. The problem with focusing solely on success is that it makes you rigid. It turns you into someone who avoids risks and shuns new experiences. You become someone who sticks to what's safe instead of exploring what's possible. But here's the thing. That's where the magic lies, in the unknown, in the messy, in the uncertain. When you throw yourself into life with excitement and curiosity, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. You attract new opportunities and unexpected adventures. Before you know it, you're living a life full of surprises, and you're equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Why do we struggle so much with accepting failure? Well, it's because we've been taught to fear it. All those messages telling us that losers don't try again, that winners never quit, have made us believe that failure is something to avoid at all costs. But here's the truth. Those sayings are wrong. We're better off embracing failure. Why? Because losing builds resilience. When we lose, we learn to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and start again. Losing can push us to try harder, smarter, and more creatively. It can lead us to take actions we'd never considered before. So here's what I want you to remember. Failure isn't something to shy away from. It's a stepping stone. Every great achievement, every remarkable success has been preceded by countless failures. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is that the latter embrace failure as a natural part of the process. They understand that losing is just another excuse to improve and come back stronger. Okay, now let's tackle the question. Is success even real? Sometimes it feels like we're all chasing this thing called success, but we rarely stop to ask what it actually means. We chase success not because we want to feel successful, but because we're afraid of being unsuccessful. Fear drives a lot of our decisions, but it shouldn't. Here's the thing. There's a lot of pressure to define success, to set goals and crush them. But maybe it's okay not to have it all figured out. I know it might sound like I'm throwing in the towel on ambition, but I'm not. What I'm suggesting is that we reframe our relationship with success. Instead of letting fear dictate our goals, let's set them based on what we genuinely want, not what we think we should want. Remember, the point of this book and of this chapter is to help you become better at dealing with money, not to get super rich. Yes, making more money is great, but it's not the ultimate goal. Achieving financial freedom is about feeling secure, having options, and not letting the pursuit of wealth consume your life. Success isn't the destination. It's a mindset. It's about enjoying the ride, embracing the journey, and savoring each moment along the way. I know it's easier said than done, but trust me, it's worth it. If you're enjoying this series and gaining valuable insights, please support us by liking the videos. Also, I have a question for you. What was one tail event in your life? A moment that changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. Your experiences can inspire others. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next chapter.